ドールズフロントライン2エクシリウム
Groza is a physical assault rifle bulwark unit that specializes in high stability damage, enemy movement speed reduction, and general defensive support for allied units within close proximity of her. Her passive revolves around her allies ending their turns within 7 tiles of her to generate confectance points and gain the shelter buff for themselves and Groza to reduce stability damage. Groza herself will deal additional damage the more shelter stacks she has and will counterattack enemies within 6 tiles that attack her allies. Her 4th duplicate will apply an attack debuff to the nearest enemy of 7 tiles with the highest attack stat, and her final duplicate will further reduce her own stability damage taken when possessing shelter. As far as basic attacks are concerned, Groza has no use for it, as her first skill can effectively be used all the time, given the confectance generation her passive provides her. Her skill 1 is a single target 7-tile attack that applies a movement debuff to the enemy, all for 1 confectance point. Her first duplicate effectively refunds the 1 point used and restores 4 stability points for herself. As stated earlier, Groza's confectance generation is incredibly easy, so the only real value of her first duplicate is the restored stability. Groza's second skill is a 6-tile buff that gives allies additional shelter stacks and a defense buff with a 2-turn cooldown. Groza herself will gain 1 confectance point for every ally buffed, and have her maximum number of counterattacks increased to 2 for that turn. She will also restore 5 stability on herself if you own her second duplicate. Her ultimate is an area of effect attack for 4 confectance points that hits in a 3x3 area within 7 tiles, with a movement debuff on enemies hit. The damage is increased on her 3rd duplicate, and the duration of the movement debuff is extended on her 5th duplicate. To put it simply, always keep your teammates and Groza close together as often as possible. Buff teammates during downtime or right before high damaging enemy turns, and choose between single target or group damage based on what the situation calls for. Moving on to her helix keys, it is recommended to use multi-dimensional assessment, firepower superiority, and principles of evasion. Since Groza's first skill is a rather high 5 points of stability damage, these keys leaned into that aspect of her kit, so it's important to make sure that Groza is the one getting breaks off. For alternative key choices, firepower superiority doesn't work on bosses, as they are immune to taunt effects, so grab controlled advance instead to apply offensive buffs to your team along with all the other effects of her skill 2. Being a 4-star character, maxing out her narrow helix will cost a third of what you would need for a 5-star in terms of basic info cores. Her common key upon maxing her helix is a decent option for enemies or bosses that try to prevent your units from moving and could see some use on most characters. As for her expansion key, I wouldn't recommend going for it immediately. Your Groza shouldn't be at risk of dying to the point where taking no damage from a single basic attack or skill attack will change the outcome, and if she is, this likely won't save her. As for weapons, please keep in mind that Groza is a bulwark unit, and your more DPS-oriented assault rifles should be saved for sentinels and vanguards. So unless you have a bunch of golden melodies lying around or are buying the battle pass, the OTS 14 will do just fine for you. For attachments, ally support will add another effect to her skill 2 for even more defensive bonuses. Otherwise, you could choose ballistic boost to squeeze out a little more damage. Crit substats can be safely ignored on Groza, so focus on the percentage-based stats of attack, HP, and defense. In terms of team synergies, Groza can really just go anywhere if you're lacking for a last pick on a team. Though there are a few characters to make mention of, Vepli has several aspects of her kit that increase her damage against movement debuffed enemies, which Groza can assist with through her skill 1 and ultimate. And Faye and Yohi both have debuffs and buffs respectively that improve the damage output of physical damage characters. And with that, your Groza should be ready to go, and my job here is done. This has been Arekado Zodan, and I'm clocking out.